Listen to this podcast now
on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Polonis.
I'm Dr. Peggy Polonis. Join me on each episode where I unravel the story that shaped leaders, tracing the thread that led them where they are today. Because leadership isn't born in adulthood. And thank you once again for joining us on the Leadership Thread, education, ethics, and sustainability.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
You know, my little town, in this case, would be Levittown. That's where the great Bill O'Reilly is from. Say this every week, folks. He was the best. He still is the best. He'll always be the best. Whether it's Thursday mornings with me, Monday afternoons with Katz and Cosby, his morning message that we play about 7:30 every morning, his own tremendous website, great news source, folks. Trust me, great, BillO'Reilly.com, interviews and TV show, and again, all the columns that come straight from there. That's great stuff. His appearances on News Nation, Stephen A. Smith and Chris Cuomo. His books, come on, about 13 or 14 into the Killing series. His book on the presidents, Confronting Evil, still doing well. There's nothing this guy hasn't done in this business. And now, forget about it. Now he's got his own YouTube channel, okay? And he has like millions of subscribers. There's nothing Bill O'Reilly has not done in this business, and not just done it, but excelled at it. So with that said, good morning, Bill. How are you, buddy?
You know, you gave me my title for my next book.
What is that?
Killing Cockroaches. I'm going to have a big can of Raid on the cover.
You know, a lot of people are making jokes about that because they still don't understand why it was received. But again, that's fine. If it offended people, I've apologized. But I do want to ask you what you did, because you've been through a pretty public controversy in a big way, and more than one over your immense and amazing career. So when these types of things pop up, and one day you're going to work and the next day your face is on every newscast, local and national, across the country, what did Bill O'Reilly do to get through that?
You got to know the rules. The rules of the road are that if you want to attack a white man in America, you can. All right? Unless that man is in a classified minority, then you can't. But if you're just going after a guy like O'Reilly or Rosenberg, then you can say whatever you want to say. And no pressure group. There aren't going to be any letters. You can just go out there and hammer us all day long. But then if you decide to go into a minority group and you say anything that is controversial, then you'll be branded. They're going to brand you. A racist, is Islamophobe, anti-gay, whatever it may be, because that's the protection that they've, and this is the far left rules, that they put around certain groups. So my big controversy, and everybody will remember, was when I went on The View when Barbara Walters was doing a program, and there was this crazy imam who wanted to build a mosque on the site of 9/11. You remember that?
I do, and I was vehemently against it and angry.
It was a point. Yeah. That's like building a Benihana in Hiroshima. Okay? No.
That's great.
No. We're not doing that. It's inappropriate.
Right.
Okay. So I go on just as a logical guy. I'm not going on to hit anybody or anything like that. But Behar and Goldberg, and I saw Whoopi Goldberg the other night at the Knick game, they were just appalled that I would actually oppose this. And I'm going, wait a minute, it's just a matter of being appropriate. If the imam wants to build a mosque 3 blocks away, I'll help him. I'll get a hammer. I'll come right out there and help him, which is true. But that area there should not be subjected to any kind of controversy at all, none. So then Behar goes, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? I said, Did you miss it? Islamists attacked us on 9/11. They screamed together.
Yeah.
And they jump up from their seats. Not an easy thing for those ladies to do. Okay? And they stormed off the set.
They walked off. That's right. I remember that. Yep.
Right. Google it. O'Reilly View Muslim walk-off. Okay. It's hysterical. So then I go to Walters. I go, did I get this wrong? Did Norwegians attack us on 9/11? I mean, do I not have the story correct? It was, and then here they come. I'm an Islamic phobe. I'm this. I'm that. You know, I was going. Now, nobody at Fox News at the time took it seriously. Perhaps because I was delivering unbelievable ratings, but I didn't get a lot of heat from inside the company. But everywhere. And that wasn't when the internet was like it was now. That was just the beginning of it. And then the other one I had was I sent Waters out to Chinatown just to do a sights and sounds, what we called, what's going on in Chinatown. It's the biggest Chinatown in the country. So Waters goes in, and he makes fun of a few of the Chinese people. You know, they're doing taekwondo, they're kicking you in the neck, they're all of that. Oh, my God. I mean, we had groups coming in, and I said to Waters, I said, well, I'm not doing it. You have to sit with them, let them yell at you for an hour.
What year was this? I'm just curious.
Waters' thing was 215.
215, okay, because I remember in the early 2000s talking about the Chinese being on Imus, and I referred because when I was a kid in Brooklyn, you know, the dry cleaners, the Chinese dry cleaners, and I said it like that, and they're like, no, you can't say that anymore. I go, you can't? Really?
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, there's all kinds of rules and craziness. But I think that, you know, over the years, I've learned a few lessons. And the lesson is don't make it personal. Just don't make it personal. So if you call somebody a name, then you're into the personal. So I did call somebody a name the other day, but it was a name that applied. And the word was moron.
Right.
And I couldn't think of another word. What the person was saying was so ridiculously dumb. I had to, but I wasn't I was just saying, look, what this person is saying is just moronic. It just doesn't make any sense, and they're saying it for this reason. So you could take the high ground. Look. Here's the deal with Mandami, and everybody should know this. The man is in way over his head, okay? He can't run the city. I was in the city last night. It's already running down. It's already filthy. I was driving up 3rd Avenue, and it was unbelievable. It's one of the main thoroughfares in Manhattan. And there's garbage everywhere. And the guy is not going to be able to run the city. So then his supporters need to put a cordon of protection around him, because they already know that he's not going to be able to run the city. And the protection is if you say something bad about him, if you criticize him, then you're Islamic phobe or whatever they're going to call you. It's a defensive play to avoid criticism. Interestingly enough, a guy like Gavin Newsom doesn't have that. He doesn't have that because he's a white guy with Ricky Nelson hair. And so you can go well on him. But if you did the same thing to Kamala Harris out there, they'd have a noose around your neck.
Yeah, that's true. You know, you and I spoke. I did I'll tell the folks I'm inside baseball, being completely transparent here. I did call Bill a couple nights ago. Bill is my guy. And he knew about the story, obviously. But you said something that a lot of people have told me the last couple of days. This was the day before I apologized to the mayor. And I told you about all the tweets I received from all the people in this city, from governor to city council members, senators, AG, and you said, well, clearly this was an orchestrated attack. I'm not sure if you use those two words, but 100%, right?
Oh, look, Schumer and Hochul and Tish James aren't listening to us right now. Why? They hate us.
It's really that simple.
Okay? Yeah. They're not listening to us. So they don't know the context of anything. They don't know what the discussion was leading up to your description of the mayor as, a insect.
Yeah.
So they don't know why you did that. And I'm not justifying you doing it, but someone called their people. They all have people. And said, oh, you better get on board. And then somebody dictated it to them, and they just said, okay, because they don't like you. And that's the way it goes. It's not like they're interested in, well, what did he really say? What was the context of it? No. They virtue signal. They play to a crew. And that's what it's called, piling on. And that's been around forever.
So to close out the Mamdani talk here, it's been recommended to me by a bunch of people that I meet him. Even N.J. Burkett, Channel 7, Eyewitness News, he was the first to bring up the apology to Mamdani on the air yesterday afternoon. He said, hey, did you hear this? And the mayor said, I did. And he said, did he call you? And the mayor said, no, I saw it on social media. And he said, well, basically, if he did call you, would you take the call? And I think it went something like that. And the mayor put the onus on me. Well, if he calls me, let him call me, something like that. And the people that are very, very close to me, they don't like the mayor. That's no big surprise, okay. And they would rather I did not have any association with the mayor, let alone meet him. But a lot of folks have said to me, maybe you sit down with him and, above and beyond the publicity, which would go through the roof, we know that, above and beyond that, there may be a good healing process for the city. What do you think about that possibility?
If it were me, I would have him on the program.
Well, you have to understand, it's not as easy as I would have him on the program.
I know it's not
he has
easy.
to say yes.
But, to go over to Graves Papaya for a couple of hot dogs,
Right.
It's not going to do you much.
Okay.
It's a photo op, okay? And then, you'll have little hot dogs, and they'll come out, and you'll look at the camera. But if the most instructive part of this whole thing would be for you to talk to him in a respectful way on the program and say, listen, I shouldn't have said that, and I'm a passionate guy. You're a passionate guy. You've said things that you regret saying, right, Mayor? He's going to have to say yes. I said, we have common ground there. And then when we go over the line, we apologize. And then you have a discussion about his stance toward Israel. That's number one in my mind, okay? About his stance toward Trump. He runs down at Trump, tries to get what he wants, and comes back and he badmouths Trump. What's that all about? Okay? You see, if you can advance, if you give him an hour on WABC, you're going to get a whole bunch of stuff, and it's got to be civil. Now, I'll predict that Mamdani won't do that. He won't, because he's not secure enough to do it. And he doesn't have to do it. So he's not in a position where he's getting any kind of negativity that he already didn't have. So the people don't like him, they don't like him, and they're never going to like him. So it doesn't really matter what you call him. And, that's the way these guys evaluate it. But it would be really riveting radio, and that's the offer I would make. And then you can go out for some papaya dogs.
No, after that, right. I mean, you left out the part about the cops. So many other groups in the city that are angry, and they feel offended. Again, I offended people.
You could do an hour easy with him.
Right. You're talking about 30 or 40 different topics. I know that he did put Jim Dolan in that position yesterday, but he did not show up. He did not even show up for Ronald Hicks when he was installed as Archbishop. That's never
right.
happened before.
Why didn't you go? And if you say scheduling, you look at him and go, come on. You dictate your own schedule, and this was perceived as disrespectful. But, in order to get him on, and I don't believe he'll do it, again, because there's no reason for him to do it.
Not only is there no reason, but, he could also say that, well, if I go on your show, isn't that a home game for you? You could say that, I guess.
Well, that's ridiculous because WABC is the biggest talk radio station in the country.
Right.
So if Mamdani is really interested in persuading people, as he should be, that he is looking out for them, why wouldn't you go on?
I think right.
Question.
And the funny thing is, we all live in our little world. So, for example, Bill, and again, we'll move to the Iran war, but you know, in my world, my Twitter, my Instagram, my Facebook, my people, my listeners, and those are big numbers. You know that. Very, very big numbers. You know, they're all supporting me. They're all supporting me, you know. And then he
doesn't matter because they're not there. It's just you and him.
Right, but in his world, his Democrat world, they're all supporting him. You know, so like you said.
I mean, look, I know that. But his job, and he's actually said this, is he wants to be the mayor of all New Yorkers.
True.
Right?
Yes.
Well, if you have a constituency that does not like you, and I'm giving you an hour to try to persuade them that you're good for the city, so why aren't you going to take it?
I think I'm not going to have a choice but to extend a radio invite to the mayor to do exactly what you're saying. I don't think I've got a choice.
And you got to be funny about it. You got to be nice about it.
Sure. I'm a funny, nice guy.
Yeah. I mean, look, you can say, listen, if you do this, Mayor, I will treat you to a tanning session right after.
Right. I've already promised Jon Stewart that, though, just so you know, I'm running out of tanning cash. Because Jon Stewart said who put Thanos in the air fryer a couple of weeks ago. Your friend, Jon Stewart. Very funny.
Right.
But yes, we'll try to make it funny. It'll be lighthearted. So the invitation is out there. I know that NJ Burkett from Channel 7 and, 1010 Wins and all these stations are listening and watching every morning. I've seen my face on New York One about 50 times already today. So it's out there. And it'll be like the beer summit. Remember Barack Obama's beer summit a couple of years ago? Remember that?
Sure. And if you really wanted to sweeten it up for Mandani, you could make NJ, who's been around since U.S. Grant, the moderator. Okay, you bring him in.
Yeah.
And say, look, if you feel uneasy that the deck's going to be stacked against you, NJ will be, the guy with the horn.
I love it. NJ Burkett, he'd be great at that. He's actually very, very good at his job. He really is, Channel 7.
Here's how long he's been around. When I was a correspondent for Channel 2, he was on the street.
Wow.
It's amazing how long these guys last.
Yeah, he's got to be, because the other guy that I saw during the storm, he was out there in Jersey, actually, by Asbury Park, is Anthony Johnson. He's also very good at his job. Very good.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them that have been around forever. Janice Huff, the weather lady on Channel 4.
Yep.
And you got to give them credit for hanging in. I mean, we're talking now 40 years.
Oh, my God. Let's get to the war. Again, I mentioned this to Rick Scott, the senator from Florida, this morning, and other folks have been on the show the last couple of days. This is not overwhelming support. In fact, I've heard bipartisan no support for this war. People that certainly, at the very least, don't want to see any boots on the ground, never see it progress to that point. People that are upset that we're fighting a war when President Trump promised us, he campaigned on no wars, no more wars. Now, look, I've been making the point that he's just finishing a war that Iran started. He didn't start it, but no wars, and we're in a war. Then, of course, you get the anti-Semites who say, oh, this is Israel, this is Bibi, he's calling the shots, which Trump has actually made public statements about the last 2 days and called them ridiculous. But that feeling is out there. So there's a lot of folks out there on both sides of the aisle, Bill, that don't love this war. And now with 4 servicemen dead, and again, this talk about the possibility of boots on the ground, they like it less and less. What are your thoughts?
Well, again, you've got to be versed on what's really happening, which is hard because the media doesn't report that. So after I watched World News Tonight on Tuesday evening, I thought that the USA was going to surrender to the mullahs. I said, we lost already. If you believe David Muir, who's actually John Wick, by the way, that's who he really is. Okay.
Yeah.
We lost
already. And by the way, that's a TV guy, and that's bad enough. And we all know, we remember, the Muir with Lindsey Davis during that debate, how really biased and pathetic the both of them were for Channel 7. I'll take it a step further. I'll take it to politics. The top guy for the Dems in Congress, Hakeem Jeffries, said the same thing yesterday. We've lost the war.
Yeah, we've lost. No, so we should be capitulating now and then surrendering to the mullahs. So they did 8 segments in a row on World News Tonight, and all of them were negative. And I'm going, geez, how can we lose? And it's only been 48 hours. We've already lost. How can this is possible? So here's what really happened, if you're anybody interested to know. The Iranians, after they lost their primary nuclear facility in June of last year.
That would be Natanz, I think, right?
Yeah. They immediately pivoted to their Plan B and C labs and continued to try to develop weapons-grade nuclear weapons, all right, and uranium and all that. So Mossad and the CIA, which have infiltrated that country in a very high level, they knew that, and that teed Trump off. And then they basically were polishing up their ballistic missiles. This was Iran, and pointing them at Jerusalem. So Netanyahu, back channels, of course, gets in touch with the American CIA and says, look, these guys, they're not going to stop, and something bad's going to happen to my country, so we got to mobilize. So that was the beginning, okay? Now, Trump did not want a shooting war. I talked to him extensively about this one-on-one on the telephone in a late-night conversation. He did not want it. But he offered them a very good deal. Said, look, we'll give you uranium for peaceful purposes, but you got to get rid and have weapons inspectors go in, and you got to dismantle the ballistic missiles. And the mullah said, blank you, gave him the middle finger. So then Netanyahu, about a week ago, called Trump on a secret line and said, hey, the mullah and all his pals are going to be meeting on Saturday in this location. We can get them all with one attack, wipe them all out. And in addition, the Persian people are ready to overthrow whatever theocratic government comes in after that. So Trump gave them one more chance, the mullahs, one more big chance, okay, with Witkoff. And they, mullahs said no. It was like Maduro, okay? And so Trump hit them. Now, no one knows what's going to happen after that. This is why these reporters are so irresponsible and stupid. Well, when is it going to end? How long is it going to go? Hey, you moron. This is a military action. Now, as far as American troops inside Iran, that's never going to happen.
Are you sure about that?
It's not even been discussed.
You sure about that?
100%.
Okay.
Because that's Iraq redo. You see what I mean?
No, I agree.
You can't insert American troops into a nation of 90 million that has an army of 200,000. You can't. And Trump's not going to do that. Now, whether a few Kurds wander across the border, throw a couple of hand grenades, and then wander back, maybe. But it's not going to be the U.S. infantry, and everybody knows that, except John Wick and at ABC News. He doesn't know. I say send him over,
I love
just
that.
him.
I love it.
And he can wipe out the whole, theocratic structure. So when I'm watching the coverage, I know what's happening. And I'm going to myself, this is so crazy because Trump isn't stupid. The American public would never support infantry going into Iran, ever, under any circumstances. Would that be supported? And right now, the latest Fox poll is 50-50. So after the bombing, CNN poll came out, it was 59-41 against. It's tightening up now, despite the media and the Democratic Party going, we already lost.
And some Republicans, too. And I was going to ask you that because as we wrap up this amazing conversation, again, proving why you're the best ever, and I mean that sincerely, I'm not patronizing you. Everything comes back to politics here, okay? So we know that the State of the Union went so well that even you admitted that even though the State of the Union is months out from the midterms in November, you thought that Trump really helped himself and the Republicans. Now, the war, I thought, may have, taken off some of that tarnish and kind of pulled back some of that great momentum that he had last Tuesday. Even 50-50 is not great, so it's an easy question. Do you still feel like the momentum is in Trump's favor as we head towards the midterms, or do you think the war kind of evens things out?
it's a neutral now because this is a huge gamble on the part of President Trump's administration. Enormous. If it works and Iran becomes a civilized nation that isn't threatening Israel in the West, then Trump elevates himself to a very, very high position.
But what does that entail? And again, I'm for this.
A change in regime.
Right, and then who's responsible for the next people in power that... And again, I'm for this, don't get me wrong, but I've got to ask these questions.
No, that's fine.
Who's responsible for putting the next people in power? I mean, I don't know. I guess my point is I don't know exactly what victory looks like. I mean, I take killing the Khomeini as a huge victory, so I'm already a winner.
It's not hard. Victory looks like Venezuela. That's what it is. You get rid of the bad guys at the top, and then you put in a pliant government that does pretty much what the United States tells it to do.
But Venezuela is the size of a borough. You're talking about 90 million people, possibly 6 or 7 layers of government that still want to kill us and the Israelis, everybody else. So it's not. It looks like Venezuela, but you can't compare the two.
But that's
the model.
The end game is. And
right.
The Persian people themselves, they're the ones that have to demand a responsible government. We can't do that. Israel can't do that. Europe is, Europe. They don't do anything, and
right.
they never would do anything because that's just not the culture over there.
No, they're bad people. Come on, Starmer's, he stinks, Macron stinks, but we keep asking the Iranian people to take over, and that's great. That's the best case scenario. But last I saw, and again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, when the Iranian people, very courageous, went to the streets, they gunned them down like a big firing squad. 40,000 died.
Yeah.
So how does that inspire Iranian people to do it again?
That is part of the reason that the mullah is now conferring with Allah.
Yeah, that's true.
It was so outrageous that President Trump decided, look, we're going to hit these people hard, and their own people aren't going to stand up for them, which is exactly what's happened.
But those people are still in danger. So my point is, do we arm those people? How do we help those people? Speeches don't stop people from getting shot down in the streets.
You got to make a deal with the army, with the generals, which is what the Trump administration did in Venezuela. Okay? You got to make a deal at the high level of the Iranian armed forces and say, look, we're not going to go away. So if you want anything left, you've got to cooperate. And that's certainly doable. That's possible. But the Army's got to stand down. And, the Revolutionary Guard never will. You can't make a deal with them. They're insane. They're Islamists. They're crazy. So you're going to have to put them in prison, and the Army can do that. But if you understand geopolitics, the guys with the most guns rule. And that's what Trump is hoping, that he's going to be able to get to these Iranian generals, that they're going to say, yeah, it's over. We're going to put in a better government. We'll run it until the civilian government get organized. And the Persian people will go along with that. And I believe the Persian people will. And the other thing is the response from Iran has been so anemic. I mean, this is what they got? They're lobbing a few drones in? That's it? I mean, come on. This is supposed to be some fierce nation armed by Putin in China? That's what you got?
Yeah, no, it's been, and of course, Putin in China, they want nothing to do with this, and they won't do anything.
Right. We'll see you later.
Right. I mean, we have seen innocent people die in apartment buildings in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem last weekend, but in numbers, and unfortunately, when it comes to war, we talk about numbers. Anybody dying is a horrible thing. 4, 5, 6 servicemen, horrible thing. But the numbers, 10 in Israel, 5 or 6 so far, American casualties. Unfortunately, now again, every life matters, but those are not big numbers to your point. It's not like Iran came back with a fury.
No, and they don't have it. They don't have a capability to defend themselves. So then when you hear, we're losing, and if you add up all the Americans that the Iranian government killed over the past 30 years, it's in the tens of thousands.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, all this is nonsense. And you see these corrupt people on television who go, oh, what about that? And all that has to happen here is discipline. All right? And that's why you don't know how long it's going to take. All right? You keep degrading their weapons. You degrade their defenses. You're making deals with the generals behind the scenes. And then hopefully it all comes together. If it does, enormous victory for Trump. He sweeps the midterms. If it doesn't, Trump gets hammered right between the eyes.
Yep, impeachment. Get ready for that word.
No, it won't be impeachment, but the Democrats will win in November.
Yeah, then they'll impeach him every day. I love you. This was an amazing segment as always, and we covered so much, Bill O'Reilly. 27 minutes of radio gold from the best ever, Bill O'Reilly. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Sid.
Come on, you're the best. Bill O'Reilly right there. This Thursday segment, it can't get any bigger. It is so immensely popular because Bill is so great. Check him out at BillO'Reilly.com. We'll take a break. I guess Noam will do the news. Got one more guest to come before I hand it off to Brian Kilmeade in 32 minutes.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best our nation has to offer, especially when it comes to health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families' health. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.